Good morning. Tim Stewart, Coach Papa here, ball guy number one of two bald guys and a microphone. While you're saying, but you have hair, how can you be a bald guy? Well, I was bald for 8 years, and when the pandemic came along, I let it grow, and now April, my beautiful wife, won't let me recut it. So now I'm just a bald guy undercover, or I identify as a bald guy, however you want to look at it. Kent is on his man camp. He is up in northern Wisconsin with a bunch of his friends, isolating themselves from humanity, so to speak. The fact that I'm alone is not on purpose. JT Newton is on his way. JT is a local stand-up comedian and a very, very good friend of mine. So we should have some things to laugh about. And yes, I do have my Bears shirt on. Half the NFL teams are undefeated this morning. And the Bears happen to be in the right half this year. So we started the season off with a win yesterday. And it's funny how you listen to the commentators and they're guarded. Well, San Francisco just didn't play very well. The Bears aren't that good. I don't know. I liked a lot of what I saw yesterday. The defense had some takeaways. The offense moved the ball. They performed. The kicker, who's been, good as gold, pun intended, because Robbie Gould was playing for the other team, missed 2 of his extra points, and I'm sure the weather had something to do with that. The original intro to two ball guys and a microphone went something like this. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, and the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, when you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, don't run to us. We don't give up. Well, yeah, we do. We are two bald guys and a microphone. We'll turn that frown upside down. We'll jumpstart your heart. You've got a long week ahead. This is the right place to start. Our theme for the month of September is laughter is the best medicine. Before we launch into that, I'm going to bring us back to yesterday for a moment and back to 21 years ago. Yesterday we commemorated the 21st year since 9/11. On the first anniversary of 9/11, one of my clients had stopped by and asked if I would read a poem at a first anniversary memoriam of 9/11. So I did that. And when I did that, it was a poem that I wrote. So after this moment, we're going to move solidly into laughter is the best medicine. JT Newton, can you take that seat? Otherwise, I'd have to stumble across you, Kevin. JT just joined us, and we're going to have some fun this morning.
I'm here.
For the moment, the king was overtaxed and his subjects far away. Things were really getting ugly until that fateful day when the colonists dressed as Indians descended upon the ships and tossed the tea into the sea as a cry rose from their lips. You can no longer overtax us. We have no more to give. So take your laws and leave our land. We choose to govern where we live. Things had gotten bad before, but this time was a first that saw America at its best when things were at the worst. And it started a tradition, a way of life, so to say, that has affected all Americans from then until today. Every time we get complacent and start bickering among ourselves, someone comes and tries to break us, to cast our paradise into hell. But every time they do it, they find out, like the rest, it's when things are at their worst that America is at its best. Now, this latest interruption that is known as 9/11, as they toppled the Twin Towers and sent thousands into heaven, is just one more reminder to those beyond our shore that we can be your greatest friend, or you can be one more. So take this as a warning. Those who would put us to the test, if you want to try to break us, you will find America and Americans at their best. I'm going to switch the camera here, and we're going to bring in my good friend, JT Newton. So, JT, good morning.
All right, I am dressed for radio. Good morning, all 12 of you listening out there. Got a question for you. What the heck are you doing? This is coma time. I'm not sure I'm gonna be. Am I on?
You're on.
I'm not sure I'm gonna be funny. I'm here, but my sense of humor is back at the house snoring.
Well, maybe we need to look into that snore.
Oh God. Good morning, all you folks listening in internet land.
So they're out there. Hugo and JT this weekend. Sophenspiel.
Oh man, I missed the whole thing.
Everybody did.
Well, it was kind of. I was at home building an ark.
It was a little bit crazy. There's no question. We had the American Legion also had an event yesterday, and I went there first. And I left and said, I need to go show up at my local community celebration. And I got there, and the only people who were there were the guys in the beer tent.
A couple of ducks.
It was, I've never seen rain like that, especially at Johnsburg. I mean, come on. It doesn't rain in Johnsburg.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned, but the good news were it is this just in yesterday. The Bears are fun to watch. They played defense. They played offense. I was worried in that first half, but I am so happy that this particular administration, the leadership of the Bears, went out and got rid of the person who passed up on Lamar Jackson and Mahone to get Trubisky, who's now starting somewhere else. But I can't wait till we go to Pittsburgh and dust him off.
Well, Pittsburgh, isn't that the area you grew up in?
I grew up in lovely New Jersey, right across the Hudson from New York City.
So our theme for the month, and we have an inside viewer here that is not working, so we can't see what you all are seeing. But you and I have had some very interesting conversations over the years, especially on our trips to morning basketball.
Oh, yeah. I dare say that part of my life is missing because I received an injury. Oh, first of all, I'm old. And second of all, I broke my leg. So my basketball days are over. And trust me, I look at the game and go, oh, man, I wish I could do that. I tell you why. I just figured out why the ratings for the WNBA aren't quite as what they'd like them to be. A little low, because most basketball playing men or people who ever considered playing basketball can't watch a bunch of women with 10 times more skill than they'll ever have.
I actually really, really enjoy watching the WNBA.
I do. I was crushed when the Chicago Sky got eliminated. I think they actually have been absolutely fun to watch. The game, like every other game, the game evolves now. And watching the skill level of these young ladies is amazing to me, because there are things. I mean, I was an adult before I finally said, well, maybe I should teach my lazy left hand how to play this game. And you're watching women shoot left-handed, right-handed, crossing over. It's very exciting.
Yeah,
and some of them are cute too.
Some of the guys are pretty cute themselves.
That's
an interesting world we live in, but we'll go down that path some other day. We've had some unique conversations this month. The month of September is about humor, about laughter is the best medicine. You made a move into comedy many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to kind of talk about how did you get started just for the laughter, or what was it that drew you into comedy?
Well, repeat your theme again. Laughter is
the best medicine.
Okay, that would be it. And I discovered this quite, organically. I grew up in a household with 5 siblings and parents who didn't they didn't have college educations, but my father grew up on a farm, so he knew how to work. He took care of all of us. Like they used to say in the old In Living Color, he brought us up with tree jobs, man. He would work his full time job at the foundry and drive a cab on the weekend. And if that wasn't enough, he'd find some other way to support us. And so there were some challenging times. And growing up in Jersey, sarcasm is a part of our language, and humor is how we navigate through life. And it just was a natural course of thing. I figured out that if you could laugh about something, you could get through it a lot easier than if you just straight up complain. And if you're going to complain, I'm going to tell everybody out there in the audience, if you're going to complain, and if that's your way of communicating, at least make the complaining entertaining for the audience. Okay. I discovered now that there are people that, their thing is complaining. It's kind of, hey, how you doing? Let me tell you about how bad my life is right now. And I'm like, okay, to me, it's like add a punchline, add a premise, a setup, and a punchline, make me laugh, because other than that, you're going to make me feel sad. I don't want that.
Well, I'm going to go over to the
go
control
ahead,
booth,
go ahead,
so
and you
I'll be
can
right
keep
over
talking,
here.
and
I've got a
I'll just sit
microphone over
here,
there.
and I think a lot of comedy has come from me sitting in a room just going, "Is that funny? Yeah, that's funny." Yeah.
Well, I know we've talked about this in the past, but most of your humor comes from real life situations.
Absolutely. Full disclosure, I am going through chemotherapy as we speak. I have 6 treatments. I've taken 4 of them. And I'm here to tell you, folks, if cancer comes into your life, don't be afraid of what you heard about chemotherapy, because my doctors avoided it. I avoided it. It was the last resort. It is the best thing that has ever happened to me since I got this cancer thing. And it's not your grandfather's chemo. So I feel better. I feel stronger. Humor has been the biggest therapeutic, important component of my life right now, because if it don't kill you, then you got something to talk about. You got stories, and that's the way I view life right now. I don't know why I needed to have cancer, but you know what? I'm kicking its butt.
Well, and you're kicking it in a very positive way. I mean, obviously, we're all going to check out of this world at some point in some time. It's what we do with the time that we have, and when you can win a battle like you're winning right now, it just gives you so much more enthusiasm, but it gives you a better story to take to other people.
Yeah, you know what? My wife is a social worker, so she does etiquette classes, and she knows that my comedy is reality based. And she said to me, she said, "Well, JT, maybe you shouldn't talk about chemotherapy because people might be sensitive." Well, you know what? I have a different take on it. I think that if through my experience and through my use of humor, I can let people know that the fear that many people have of going to the doctor is not let's call it not healthy, not a good idea. And I have had a, a really good experience with the medical care that I received. And, since I'm going in there so often, I'm bringing the jokes. I'm making nurses laugh and doctors laugh, and they're making me laugh too. Tim, I'm going to tell a story right here. I had surgery. They put a port inside my body so they could, since they're stabbing me, once or twice a week with a needle. And I decided that I was going to, make the best of it. So I go in there to the surgery room, and they're playing some really cool music, R&B. I was really impressed. In fact, the second song was a Marvin Gaye tune. So the practitioner, the doctor said, "Well, I've done a bunch of these. We're going to give you some medicine that'll keep you happy." And as a layperson, I'm like, "Happy? What do you mean you're going to keep me happy?" Well, at some point they said to me, "All right, now we're going to give you the happy um, medicine," and I tried to figure out, okay, how do I feel now compared to happy time? Well, I couldn't figure it out. All I know is this music is rocking, and I'm in happy land, and the surgeon is slicing, dicing, connecting, inserting, and I don't care. I literally went through the entire process in happy mode, and the doctor must have thought I love you, man, drunk at the end of it because I'm complimenting you guys are incredible, man. I love you guys. So now I know what it means. I'm probably the only person I am aware of that had surgery and actually had a good time.
Well, I think that's why they call it the happy medicine.
Well, I know now. I know the definition now. So
helped a lot of people along the way.
Well, during this pandemic, a lot of people went on the internet or listened to somebody else and tried to play this game, this ridiculous game called "I'm Smarter Than a Doctor." No, you are not. If you want to give me medical advice, the first question I'm going to ask you is, can you remove my gallbladder safely? How about open heart surgery? Can you deliver a baby? If the answer is no, all right, then we're changing the subject.
Well, and, let me get over here. Since we don't have professional IT support here in the station, I'm going to need to sit over here.
You sit where you need to sit. It's radio. No one cares.
Kenny Schroeder just checked in. Kenny says, "Hey, JT."
Hey, Kenny.
I went into Kenny yesterday at the American Legion. They had all-you-can-eat pulled pork and a few other things, and all-you-could-drink beer for $10.
Okay, I know why Kenny was there. And Kenny's from Kenny's Floor Covering, used to be a customer of mine. If you remember his radio campaign, we used to do a whole lot of singing. It was a little bit different, like a takeoff on the Empire Carpet theme. We sang his phone number and we just stuck with it. And, Kenny, I think he did all right as a result of that. And we had fun. He has a great family. Also, I'll give him a plug. He's got like 9 floors in my house. They're holding up. So it's all good.
Well, he said so many things to our house. And his daughter Taylor used to be our barista over at the Sugar Buzz. And then when the Sugar Buzz was no more, it stopped buzzing. She went and dove in full force with Kenny. And he'll tell you today, she was gone last week. And they somehow made it through the week. But Taylor's a very important part of that.
That is the most incredible family that when you walk in there, you're talking to like 8 family members, and the ability to work together, like if it's a challenge, but they make it work, and it's been handed down, and it's a great story. Like back when I was in advertisement, I understood that most customers had a story to tell, and we tried to tell the Kenny's Floor Covering story as best we could, and I think we broke down barriers between a business you drive by all the time to a business that when you drive by you go, oh yeah, that's Kenny. That he's got his late mom was there. Almost every time I went in there, and his kids. He's basically raised his family by flooring the people in this market, and it's a beautiful thing to know that story. And also, they're pretty good at what they do.
Well, many years ago, my mother-in-law was newly single, widowed, and her house. Some of the things in her house were falling apart. One of the things was the carpeting. The carpeting was it was old. It wasn't that old. But it was just loose and a lot of bumps in it. So
it had uglied out. That's the term that I came to know.
Kenny to come over and give her new carpet, and he came over and looked at it. And he said, "No, we just need to stretch this. This carpet is fine." Where he could have, made a sale. He just did a service call, tightened the carpet up, and the carpet lasted the rest of the time she was in that house. So there's not many people in business today are going to do something like that. Good morning, Shana. And Shana says, don't forget to send the Facebook notification. We almost missed you. And Shana, I don't know, technology, something's going on with technology this morning. We never intentionally send out the notification. Facebook sends it out when we log on. So I don't know what happened there. But
somebody didn't push the right buttons.
If you are listening, go ahead and share this out so that more people come in and get in tune with what's going on. Laughter is the best medicine.
Absolutely.
So I know for me personally, in my coaching, it's all about gratitude and laughter. And several years ago, we had a guest on by the name of Chuck Inman, who wrote a book called Chemical Brain Freeze. And the one thing that he says, when you're in that moment where the adrenaline's kicking in and you're getting crazy, like those crazed sports fans do it from time to time, he said there's 4 steps to get out of that crazy place. Number 1 is stop. Whatever your part in the craziness is, just stop. Number 2 is take a real deep breath. Number 3 is focus on a happy memory. And if you don't have a happy memory, put on a funny cats video. Do something that makes you laugh and gets the dopamine flowing, because dopamine and cortisol cannot exist in the neocortex. When we're laughing, when we're experiencing good times and our body is producing dopamine, everything else in our world has a tendency to fall into place. You've shared this story with me many times, but you had the opportunity to meet one of the greats in comedy, Dave, was it Chappell?
That is an absolute incredible story. In fact, I'm a bit of a hoarder and a history buff, and I have before me a book that I used to use basically a booking book. And when I was back in the late 80s, I was doing comedy, sports, improv, just to add to my comedy stand-up chops. And I ran into a young man that I just understood the second I saw him perform that he was leaps and bounds better than most of the people I had been working out with. So in that experience with comedy sports, a friend of mine, Brian Capel, he said, JT, you want to book this club? I want to do stand-up. And I said, well, absolutely. And I knew that I knew many comics, and they were about to become my new best friend because I had an opportunity to get them paid. And I made a decision. I said, I'm only going to hire the absolute best of the best of the best. And the rest of them will hate me, but they'll figure it out. And after seeing Dave perform one time, I believe that's accurate, one time, I got in touch with him and reached out to him, asked him if he wanted to perform at the Laughing Lizard Lounge in Northern Virginia. And he agreed, and he came in and he killed because he's so talented. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, he does. In fact, you radio audience, all of you could actually Google Dave Chappelle's first laugh. There's a 29-second clip from CBS where Dave's being interviewed by Gayle King, and she asked him about, do you remember your first laugh? And he will tell you, yes, I remember. I even remember the intro. And she said, tell me. And he said, well, there was this dude named JT Newton. And he introduced me, and he said, folks, people have to start comedy somewhere. And this gentleman, you might want to keep your eyes on him. We may be witnessing the birth of a star. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dave Chappell. And the rest is history.
Yeah, we've had several good laughs over the years, but one of my favorite stories, or my favorite time, was when you were first diagnosed with prostate cancer. And you came over to the Relay for Life, and you were not being paid as a stand-up comedian that day, but that night was
God,
that was incredible.
It was amazing that I stayed awake that 24 hours. I started the entertainment business being a DJ, and basically financed my junior and senior class. We paid for their proms with dances, and so Tim gets me to DJ, but it's an all night affair. I have never been so drunk, sleep, partially conscious for such an extended period of time in my life, but it was for a good cause. And I'm glad I did it, but I haven't done it since because daddy needs his sleep.
Okay, I am going to, I actually was able to find it. So I'm going to share our screen here. And for our audience, I'm going to play that clip.
I was wondering if you had the capacity to play that clip. It's a great honor.
Some capacity I do have, but obviously not with having the. Of course, we have a Verizon commercial coming up first. So let's get off the Verizon.
Well, as one of my best friends who.
I can remember what my introduction was. Well,
Let me hear.
this guy named JT Newton, he said, folks, everybody starts somewhere. Tonight, this young man is stand-up comedy for the first time. He goes, and who knows? We may be witnessing the birth of a star. Please welcome Dave Chappell. That was it.
A backstory. I didn't even.
Okay, we're going to try to get that commercial out.
Okay. I wasn't aware that was his first time. The only thing I was aware of is that Dave went to an arts high school in Washington, D.C. The name escapes me, but they have a wing, dedicated to that. Dave was ready when he came out. In fact, he wasn't even allowed to come in the clubs because he was underage. So his mother would bring him in the club and sit in that audience and see some of the worst comedy in the history of comedy. And I'm just so proud of his mom to sit through that because, I'm a bit of a comedy snob now, and I have trouble sitting through an open mic. But later, probably a few years later, I'm walking down the street in New York City, and Dave's walking down the street in the opposite direction, and he's with his now wife, then fiance, Elaine, and he sees me and he gives me a huge hug, and he says to me, he says to Elaine, this guy gave me my first professional job. And I actually have it written down here. Mr. Millionaire Dave received $40. $40 from yours truly to do a set at the Laughing Lizard Lounge. And like I said, he killed. And my instincts for comedy have always been very strong. I've always been attracted to people who were entertaining. And, coming up in Jersey, everybody, the teachers had to be funny just to get the class taught. Your sense of humor, everybody polished up their sense of humor.
Well, it appears my microphone over there isn't working.
Okay, so
I'm back here. I'm off the controls.
All right, thanks for coming out of the closet with your faraway sounds.
This is the day where half of all NFL teams are undefeated, and all of their fans are going, "This is the year." Shana says, "I see our comedians as the last social tether to reason. We're in trouble when comedians are unable to express genuinely. Dave Chappelle is an absolute hero in my mind, especially since he held his own against mob think. Do you feel pressure to curtail your subject matter?" As he just talked about me coming out of the closet.
That's interesting. I don't, because for too many years, not being famous, I've been honing my ability to cut through and find the essence of truth often. Most of my comedy is reality based. And I think there's a borderline. You can be quite entertaining and quite humorous and straddle that borderline between good taste and bad taste. and it's just a skill set, and I've been working on it. I'm not successful 100% of the time, but I don't worry about it because for me, life, I put life through a filter, and that filter is usually humor. And for me, telling the truth, I mean, that's what I love about comedy because I've had many jobs, but comedy is the only one where I can tell the God's honest truth. And as long as I get a laugh at the end of it, there's love and payment for me. But you can't go to your corporate job and tell your boss the truth.
Well, you can once.
Yes, one time, and then it's time to go get some unemployment insurance. And basically, so I don't worry about it because the truth is something that you may not want to hear, but it will be your best friend. Because once you adapt to that reality and make the proper adjustments, you're going to be better off than if you avoid the truth. And I always look at it that way.
Well, I think that's a good way to do it. And the truth is, I was always a better basketball player than JT. So we'll just.
You are a great basketball player, and
notice he stopped short of. We had some battles, and our game was a little bit different. If we got inside, you always won. From the outside, I think I had a little bit of the.
You were a great long distance shooter.
I was always. It was more fun when we played together because I didn't like to rebound. Every time I went into rebound, I got hurt, and you kind of thrived in that environment.
Well, I was skinny and quick, and if Tim was about a half a mile from the basket, nobody covered him, and he developed a shot from there, so it worked out for him. Let's say, Tim, where's Tim? He's in the bathroom, but that's all right. He's open.
We had some fun, and Terry Riley and I used to have a lot of fun with that because he was.
Is he still around? Did he ever get his knee fixed?
He did get his knee fixed. He's going to be up in the area this week.
Oh.
He's coming up for a. He's doing something at one of the local churches, a presentation or something.
Oh man!
So I want to make sure.
Was he a reverend or preacher? What was his title?
The Reverend Jump Shot.
Oh my God! This guy was. He was Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Curry. This gentleman was ordained to have the best jump shot in the gym at all times, and he was dead eye, just amazing.
And that, as he became a minister and a preacher, that broke through to the youth community because he could always connect with the youth on the basketball court.
Absolutely.
The use of humor. I wrote a paper. I was at the instructor training course in the military, and there are certain jokes you can't tell in the military. They're still pretty limiting.
I'm about to tell one.
But I told most of them, and I got away with it because the title of my talk was "The Jokes You Can't Tell in the Military."
Good. I like that.
But what I did was I took the punchlines and wrote them out, and I put them under people's name tags. So after the first couple, everybody's checking under their name tag to see that if they have a punchline to go. But the humor is the way we get through anything. And from my perspective, throughout my military career, throughout my industrial management career, throughout my other careers, humor has always played a big part. Sometimes my delivery isn't quite what you've honed yours to be, but that's your craft.
And you're also you are also in places where you had to be guarded. And the thing that drew me to comedy is just the one place I could be less guarded. But again, it's a skill set to take somebody right to that point of it's either going to be insensitive or hilarious. It's either going to be uncomfortable or hilarious. Sometimes uncomfortable and hilarious. But, getting there without offending people is a true challenge. And you know what? Well, let's go back to Dave Chappelle. You know why he's such a star? Because I'd never seen Dave have any fear. He has a incredible mind. just a really brilliant mind. And I don't mean to brag, but comedians are my favorite people because we look layers deep. We peel that onion to reality, and we figure out what that is from, what that's all about, and base what we say on that truth. And often for me, there's a message. Like I've gone through prostate cancer, which metastasized, fancy word, to my bones. And throughout that entire experience, I got 10 minutes on a prostate exam. Now, if you don't know anything about that, the prostate is located in a very precarious part of your body. And most men, when they hear about it, they're like, I'm never going near a doctor. And that's how you die. So, the message that I deliver when I talk about my experience is to show men, A, it's not so terrible to go someplace and get an examination that may be a little mentally, some physically uncomfortable at the time. But if they determine that you have an issue, then they can start treating you right away, and you live to tell this story, much like myself.
Well, I remember when you were first diagnosed and you talked to me about you were thinking about this one area. And I said, have you done all your homework? And you started doing a lot more homework, and you went a totally different direction, which, I think is why you're here today. So,
you know what, Tim, you just reminded me. Back in the day, like it is 2022, but I was diagnosed in the early 2000s. And, I didn't know that prostate was a slow developing cancer. And I was in my 40s. I didn't know what the heck to do. And, we had the internet. And if I remember specifically, you got your hands on a VHS tape.
It was.
Which you shared with me 6 months after you got it.
6 weeks, maybe. No,
I don't know. I know there was a period of time.
I had sent off to a friend of mine who was a researcher in that area, and I gave it to you the day I got it. So don't listen to what he said.
Sure, Tim. Anyway, and it doesn't make a difference. Basically,
limited his jump shot just a little bit.
He's
Not
get a little sicker before I share this with him. Actually, it was very pivotal because I scared the bejesus out of my wife because most people, when you get cancer, they say, run in and get whatever kind of treatment is available at that time. And let's do it now. But prostate cancer being slow developing, I said, well, I'm going to take my time. And Tim was with that videotape of a treatment called brachytherapy where, I'll explain this to you. At that point in time, they decided that if they could insert needles, 80 of them, into your prostate tipped with radioactive, that's not the right term, with radiation at the end of these needles, and surround the prostate with that radiation, that they could cure you. They believed that, and they actually showed me a picture of 80 needles in my prostate, and I quickly told the doctor, don't you ever show that to me again.
Give me the happy pill,
right.
Do your thing, don't show me the video.
And the important thing was that videotape showed me a gentleman who had gone through the process, and they asked him how he felt, and he said, I'm hungry. And if you know anything about medical trauma, if you receive treatment and you can relate to being hungry, that means that wasn't so terrible, because anytime I have any kind of issue, whatever, the first thing that goes is my appetite. I'm not interested in food at all. Let's handle the problem. But the fact that this gentleman was hungry right after that procedure let me know that he was feeling okay having gone through that experience. And thanks to you, that was the first action I took. And I want to thank you very much. I appreciate that. And my wife thanks you because she was scared to death.
Let me give you my bank account. No free lunch out here these days. Going back a few years, we had you started working at bringing comedians to the Hidden Pearl.
Yes.
The Hidden Pearl,
now defunct Hidden Pearl,
is unfortunately it's gone. We won't go into the whole drama around that because we don't talk about politics on 216 The Net or Two Ball Guys and a Microphone. However, you've moved on to another venue.
Well, you know what? I didn't bring my phone. Actually, what I do is called Camp Comedy, and I'm very fortunate in that. Let's take it back. When comics are learning their craft, we gather at places where there's an open mic, and they'll give you 5 minutes, and you go and you work out your material. Well, that's very important to comics. So I had the pleasure of coming up and what my friend Art DeVitas calls the best comedy school ever. Can you imagine going up and with the open mic, you sign a list, they give you 5 minutes, and you do your best, and then you repeat until you could get to the point where they'll pay you. Well, I was going to open mics with Dave Chappelle, as mentioned, with Patton Oswalt, with Wanda Sykes. In this book, there is a group of comics you may not know, but they're still working. But like I said earlier, I decided to hire the best of the best. And I'm really proud of this history because I hired Wanda Sykes probably about 8 times. I hired Patton Oswalt, on a few occasions. And it tells me that my taste held up, because there's just a group of comics. So anyway, I decided I was going to set up a situation called Camp Comedy. And I still have that. I just am shopping for a venue right now. I'm looking for a place where, I have a private room. So if
Does it need a larger audience than this room offers?
a little bit.
Well, if you knew that we're reaching out to about 5 million listeners every year sitting at these tables, we have 18 shows now on 216 The Net. I personally think we need to have a comedy show on 216 The Net. And I'd like you to...
It won't be at 6 a.m., I can tell you that. It won't start at 6 a.m.
But it's, the Two Ball Guys started in Harvard. You came out to that station, I think, once or twice.
I'm not sure I made it to Harvard unless I was in a coma, much like I'm partially in right now.
But since the beginning, we've been... through the financial support of Natural Therapy and Wellness, John Peterson and his team at McHenry Massage have supported us from the very beginning, specifically at Two Ball Guys and a Microphone, and generally at 216 The Net. So if you got any tension going on, if you got any craziness in those shoulders or lower back, give them a call, 815-385-8190, or go to McHenryMassage.com. John Peterson and the team at Natural Therapy and Wellness are there to take the stress out of your life. There, I paid the bills.
Silky smooth there, Mr. Segway.
I'm doing a thing now called combat brain training. And I'm looking at the brain in ways I haven't looked at the brain before. One of my favorite lines from a slightly well-known comedian by the name of George Carlin would say,
Comedy God!
I found it in the last place I looked. Well, I'd be worried if you kept looking after you found it, right? But one of the things in looking at the brain and looking at that statement, on the moment you find that thing that's been lost for a day, a week, a month, you find it, everything comes flashing back. Oh yeah, now I remember why it's there. Why couldn't we recall that at the time? And through this combat brain training, we help people retrain the brain. And I just think there's a lot of things that our brain does to us that would probably be great material for the right comedian to use in the right audience, because as you say, it's things that we I'm listening to a guy the other day, I can't think of his name, but he said, ladies, he said, no man in this audience wants to be married. There is not a man in here that wants to be married. I don't want to break your heart, but it's the truth. He said, no man ever woke up in the morning and say, I want to give up my decision, my ability to make any decision ever. And he goes on to say things like, and I don't ever want to have to call my wife again to find her cell phone. Honey, can you call my cell phone so I can find it? And he went on, and I couldn't say these things to my wife. I had to. I found this comedian. I don't think he's all that funny, but what do you think? And she was laughing hysterically. Had I said those things to her, though, she wouldn't have been laughing quite so much.
Her sense of humor is not set to talking to you.
This is true.
In fact, when I was in sales, we figured out that a lot of people were resistant to people who were close to them. So we started doing what we call bringing in the out-of-town expert to say the exact same thing we were saying. It's just that people were more receptive to it.
Yes.
And, it was an effective methodology to get people to make decisions to become popular for profit, as I say, because and if you become popular, and that's what we did with Kenny's campaign, we made him popular in his market. And, what happens is that popularity puts you on the mental Rolodex. And that Rolodex because, you don't need flooring every day. But when you do need it, if you got Kenny's singing message in your head, you're going to go see Kenny. He's going to be the first on your mental Rolodex. So, yeah, I get the part about the brain. I mean, dealing with how the brain works is going to affect you in every aspect of your life. So I am very curious about what you're doing, because I do know that training your brain to do certain things can have a catastrophic effect on your life. Best example, me. I am super positive. I'm dealing with cancer. I'm dealing with chemo. And I'm getting through it because I've trained my brain, accentuate the positive. Mind over matter is the most effective way to train your brain, much like a computer. You put the positive information in, you get the results that are positive. You try it another way. If you program negative, 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 that's what you're going to spend all your quality time on.
Remember our first computer class, they talk about GIGO, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Good stuff in, good stuff out. Shana says, laughter is a universal healing modality. Humor can open the most closed mind, if only for a brief moment, but the seeds of wisdom sneak in there all the same. Emotion locks in memory. Everyone could remember exactly where they were on 9/11, right? Emotion locks in memory. Now, that was a very negative emotion, but I feel on the flip side, when we can use positive emotion to lock in, one of the masters of that was Zig Ziglar. Zig would use humor to lock in his lessons constantly. And he'd say, I'm not saying this to make you laugh. I'm saying this to make you remember, because you attach memories to humor or to emotion. And when we can use positive emotion to tie that message, that memory to, it becomes even stronger. So we were watching a movie last night where a couple got married when they were 18, but they're like, oh, this was dumb. And after a month, they went their own separate ways. Well, now they're coming back together 20 years ago because the girl is set to get remarried and found out she wasn't officially divorced because the lawyer never filed the paperwork. So in the courtroom, he looks at her and says, honey, I'm home. She didn't find that funny. Well, as the movie goes by and rolls on, the memories that were attached to that emotion so many years ago is a Hallmark movie. So eventually they fall back in love and they kiss, and the new fiance is tossed out, in the ocean. But the point I'm trying to make is when we can lock in memory with humor, it has a much better chance of surviving.
Well, it's not just, we're focusing on humor, but again, I'll pull this all together because it's not just humor. The reason jingles exist is because they trick the brain into thinking you're being entertained. The brain wants to be entertained. So if you can deliver a message with a jingle, here's how it works out. you may get to the point where you're 90 something and can't remember your spouse, but you could sing, call Rotor Rooter, that's the name, and away goes trouble down the down the drain. I have not heard that
I haven't
in
either.
forever. But, you will always remember the Addams Family theme song. Exactly. Exactly. So the deal is your brain is like, oh, we're having fun. And that's when we sneak in the information. So it's not just, it's entertainment. If we can deliver a message with an entertainment value, then it sets up an emotional response or emotional, it goes through an emotional filter and it locks in.
Yeah.
And that's, that's pretty much the way we do it.
We started off the show with Kenny Schroeder checking in from Kenny's Flooring, and you talked about his singing jingle.
Yeah. Do you
happen to remember that?
You know what? Actually, I'm it's Prevagen time in my life, Tim. I do remember. I need a new floor. Where can I go? Kenny's floor covering, something to that effect. Basically,
Yeah.
It's so funny that we achieved exactly what we wanted to with that jingle. And after a while, one of the radio station I worked with wanted to change something that was very effective for Kenny, and so he had a little struggle with them just to keep his thing on the air. Basically, they wanted more money from him, and so they were like, "Well, you can't do that." But the bottom line was, we had locked in. There are people who do remember that jingle specifically because we locked it into their brain. We also worked with, studying the brain and how it receives things. But we figured out if you deliver a message consistently 3 to 5 times, I'm forgetting the math, but there is a formula. If you deliver a message consistently towards this formula, your brain will remember it. It does not have a choice, which is why there's so many people, so many companies using rock lyrics or music lyrics to sell their products, because you lock into that song, you're having fun, they're delivering their message, they're getting popular for profit.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw an offer out here to you. Our entire month is, and this is an offer that you can refuse, but our entire month is focused on
Put the gun away, Tim. Please.
Is you're welcome to show up every Monday morning at 6 a.m. this month. If you'd like to join us, Kent will be back in studio next week, and I'm sure your laughter and your perspective on laughter is powerful. I should have had you close the door when you came in, but that's okay.
Yeah, especially since we're so close to the bathroom.
Fortunately, these microphones are, they pick up what's right here. They don't have a big range, but we're in the final 5 minutes of the hour, and it always goes by quick. We had a guest on, Mary Shep's Living Low Sodium show on Friday. I produced her show, and the guest came in and goes, "Mary, I don't know why you asked me here. I don't think I have enough to talk about for a whole hour." And we're looked at him just like, "Yeah, just wait.
Yeah,
we have 5 minutes left." And he's like, "What? I have so much more to talk about." And I think we do too. I think there's a lot more open, because I do want to go into some of the actual physical benefits of laughter. I mean, reduced blood pressure, increased, 30 seconds of deep belly laughter burns as many calories as 10 minutes on a treadmill. And I'd rather find a good comedian.
How about the pain killing aspect of it?
Oh, yeah. Without question.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is important because I can't stress enough. I said this before, I'm going to say it again. Going through what I'm going through with my medical situation, I feel a tremendous advantage over others because I understand the therapeutic nature of laughter, and I understand the therapeutic nature of programming your brain to be as positive as possible. If let me put it this way, if people knew how powerful the simple concept of mind over matter, training your brain to focus on the most positive aspects of whatever, if they knew how powerful it was, we'd all be superstars.
Without question. Even, the old preachers back, in our day and just before our day, if you don't get saved, you're going to go to hell. And now they come in on Jesus and Moses were out on the golf course. You go in and the humor is, it really is everywhere. And it is that common thing. If we could get a Republican and a Democrat in the same room listening to the same comedian, they might walk out having a conversation instead of all of this.
Well, they used to do it themselves. I mean, they used to, battle at work and then go drinking together.
Yeah.
And then they were able to have a relationship that prioritized us as Americans as opposed to their bank accounts. And, I miss that. There were some great stories about these enemies in public that, just had a ball together after hours.
Yeah.
And they got things done.
Well, it was the old agree to disagree philosophy. But today, the rhetoric that's out on Twitter and other social media, where every Republican is a liar, and I'm like, wait a minute,
it's
every Democrat is a this, and it's just all this garbage going back and forth.
Well, cool, boy, you threw me something there that I'm not going to go with.
We don't talk politics on the.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. You know what? We're at a time now where an attack style way of presenting. I'm good and he's bad and blah blah blah. That has become the popular way of doing business for our country, and it's very unfortunate because really it give me that word. It makes less important. That's what I meant. Yes. It makes less important the work that they're there to do. It's not about them, and it's not about the guy over there across the aisle. It's about what you're going to do for the people that you are there to support, the American people. And to me, when that priority comes back, then there'll be a lot less scrapping.
In the poem I opened up with today, one of the lines says, every time we get complacent and start bickering among ourselves. And I really believe humor is one of the answers that are, if we use it appropriately, and it's going to bring this country back together. We are in the final minute. JT, thanks for getting up. I know you're not fishing.
I thought about it, but I got some work to do later.
But thanks for joining us. Again, you're welcome. No commitment. But if you would like to come in next week, the following week, you're welcome.
Throughout the month of September, okay?
Throughout the month of September. Humor is our focus. But again, I'd like you to just plant inside your brain a comedy show for the station.
I'm thinking about it. I mean, I've been encouraged to do podcasts many times by a dear friend. And I said to myself, well, you know what? I've watched you do one take activity, and you have the ability. My wife says I can talk, and I can, and so can she. But Tim can talk for like 3 hours and right off the top of his head and be 100% precise. I've never met anybody that's had the ability to just your memory, your delivery, your presentation, just top notch. I take my hat off to you.
Thank you. I remember the situation you were talking about. I was doing a recording of one of my leadership presentations out at Gordon Renda's studio.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name of his, but it doesn't matter. It was a 45-minute talk.
Prevagen time.
And went through the talk and got done. And Gordy's like, well, that's great. That was a wrap. And you were just sitting there going,
yeah.
You did that in one take.
How long? Do you remember how long that piece was?
It's about 45 minutes.
45 minutes of just talking, one take, we're done. It would have taken me 45 takes to get through the 45 minutes.
The problem with that is when it's just you and the microphone. Like I was kind of freaking out this morning because you weren't here right at go live time. When it's
Get
just
used
you
to
and the
that.
microphone, and you're not seeing what the audience is doing. Your laughter fuels. When what do they say? 3 times on a joke. When you hit a nerve in the audience, you try to keep that roll moving. And it's the same with inspirational speaking, motivational speaking. When I'm in front of an audience, and that day, I'd practiced a few times coming into it, but I had to visually remember how audiences normally react when I hit that point.
Mhm.
Okay, I need to pause here so that they can laugh. We have run out of time this morning. Thank you so much for getting caught in the net and joining us at Two Bald Guys and a Microphone. I'll go back to our original opening. So when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, and the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the debts are high and when the funds are low and the debts are high, when you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, don't run to us. We don't give up. Well, yeah, we do. We are two bald guys and a microphone. We'll turn that frown upside down. We'll jumpstart your heart. You got a long week ahead. This is the right place to start. And thank you for starting your week and your Monday here on 216 and Net. Now it's time to get off the bench and get back in the game. I am Coach Papa with JT Newton.
Thank you.
Make this your best day